Thanks to LastPass for sponsoring a segment of this video.
When you think Hollywood movies, you think big actors, big crews, big sets, big explosions, big cameras, big gear. You know, by this point, the Hollywood filmmaking machine is an old, well-oiled contraption with a bunch of moving parts. But then again, so is a steam engine or a blimp, and you don't really see us riding around on those anymore. I think these days, the modern way of filmmaking is like that, and I want to find the Tesla. You know, what is the Cybertruck of modern filmmaking? At this point, there is so much technology available to us that there has to be a better way. So I've had an idea for a short film for a few years now, but I haven't shot it yet because it needs to look like a legitimate movie. But the way I need to shoot this is with no budget, cheap equipment, and just a couple friends on my crew. The same way you or I or anyone else out there would have to make a movie these days if we wanted to. In this video, I'm going to show you how I plan on getting that big Hollywood look for nothing, so that you and I can go out there and make better films. All right, so let's go figure it out together. So the short film is called You Monster. Not to dig up old news here, but you remember the time that Logan Paul ended up filming in the suicide forest of Japan? And it brought into reality something that I've been thinking about quite a bit, which is how people can lose their humanity through two ways. One, always living their life for other people's attention, whether they're going to a restaurant only to be able to take the Instagram picture or they're doing an activity just so they can film it. The second facet of it is, what is the responsibility that we as an audience have in these kind of pieces? How much of the blame do we share in that as the audience? It got millions of views. We watched it, we ate it up. So this piece kind of brings all it together. The story's about a social media influencer that has made some very bad decisions in what they've decided to use to make themselves popular. And in turn, they become haunted by us, by the camera, by the fourth wall. They're literally aware that someone is watching them every second of their life. And it doesn't matter where they go or where they hide because the camera always cuts to them and shows them. And it is driving them insane. So for this piece to work, it needs to look like a movie. It needs to feel legitimate and real. The drama needs to carry weight. There are times when it makes sense to have a big crew. But that little sliver of filmmaking way at the top there, those Marvel movies and Star Wars movies, well, there's a whole lot between that and indie filmmakers. There's all those shows you see on TV. There's all those lower budget movies. And they're all doing the traditional Hollywood system. And it is expensive and it is prohibitive. And it's time to reimagine things. It's time to apply new technology to things. All right, so these problems all stem from old technology. First things first, the camera. Back in the day, cameras were film cameras. So you had a big old camera with film reels, and the thing was literally mechanicalized. So you had to have somebody who could operate the camera. You had to have an assistant camera. Their job is to just deal with the machine itself. Frequently, that assistant camera is pulling focus. Then we have the film loader, the person whose job it is to deal with loading and unloading film. You also have a second assistant camera operator. And very often that person is the one who works the clapboard. This is all fine and great for operating your camera, but what about the tripod the camera's on? What about the dolly system? What about the rigging? Well, you have your dolly tech. Oh, did I forget to mention that on a Union Hollywood set, you cannot do camera playback without hiring somebody to do it for you. That's right, the VTR operator. Their job is to hit the play button on the camera. No, all right, once again, it stems from old technology because back in the day on a film camera, they would actually have to run a second video camera that was tapped in to the viewfinder on the camera. That video feed would then go off to a guy running VHS tapes who's recording it and could do playback for the director. You know, working out the film camera made sense, but it's an old holdover. Once again, it's old frickin' technology that is slowing things down. For You Monster, the camera is locked off for the vast majority of the film, then at a certain point it becomes a dolly shot where it's pushing forwards constantly. And those are the only motions in the shot. There's no camera motion beyond that. I don't want to use a tripod. This is about as light as you can get for a tripod that can hold like a 50, 60 pound rig. I mean, this tripod's built to hold like 100-pound cameras, but look at how big this is. Look how big this piece of metal is. Look at these legs here. It's a pain in the butt. I love the red, but I don't want to use the red. This is too heavy. I pick it up and it annoys me now. But earlier this year, a camera came out. A camera that shoots 13 stops of dynamic range, a camera that shoots in the RAW format, and it only costs $1,000, and it only weighs a pound. And that's the Blackmagic Pocket. This is the Blackmagic Pocket 4K. They also have the Blackmagic Pocket 6K. They're both basically the same thing. They just have slightly different sensor sizes and shoot in different resolutions. But beyond that, you're getting exactly what I've always wanted, which is a tiny, light camera shooting in RAW with 13 stops of dynamic range. So this camera fixes a lot of problems. What do I get for this lightweight? Let me show you. This is a gimbal, the Zhiyun Crane 3. Now this gimbal with this camera lets me get basically every type of shot that previously required specialty hardware to get. I no longer need a Steadicam, the gimbal covers it. I no longer need a dolly, the gimbal covers it. I no longer need a crane unless I'm going really, really high up, the gimbal covers it. Because the gimbal will stabilize my shot and make it look smooth no matter what I'm doing. No longer need a tripod, because, boom. Monopod! You could say it's a third simpler than a tripod. It requires a third less effort to set up. Look at this footprint. It's one leg. If I want it to be higher up, I go like this. That's it. And then I have a Steadicam. And then I have a crane. And I can stand on a skateboard and I have a dolly. I didn't need a dolly grip. I didn't need a second assistant cameraman. I didn't have to worry about my fingers getting pinched. I didn't need to worry about dropping a $100,000 rig. And you can even pull focus with this little knob and have the motor up here, spin the lens. This bit of technology is a game changer. But image is only one half of the equation here. We need to talk about sound.
Hello, humans. My name is Jazulu, and today's sponsor is LastPass. LastPass relieves the burden of having to remember passwords. Hello! I hear you like to use technology, personal computer, internet. When was the last time you forgot a password? I am here to bring you the technology of LastPass. You see, what it does is it encrypts your passwords such that you only need to remember one master password, and all of your other passwords will be encrypted for you across all of the internet, across all of your devices. You will be much happier. LastPass allows you to autofill your credentials on mobile sites and apps for iOS and Android. And with unlimited password storage, there's no reason not to try it. When was the last time you signed on to a site on the internet and had to click forgot password?
That was yesterday, in fact.
Daily.
Daily. LastPass will allow you to cross-sync across multiple devices, meaning that if you are signed in on your PC, you can also be signed in on your phone. If you are interested in signing up for free, just click the link in the description below. Farewell, humans.
Farewell, Ja Rule.
It's Jazulu, and I will come again.
Peace.
Peace, man.
Thanks again to LastPass for sponsoring my journey.
I think you should go back to your planet now.
All right, here's our actors doing a scene. All right, sound is important. In fact, sound is the most important thing in your film set. You wouldn't expect it, but it is. It's way more important than your camera department. It's way more important than your image. It's more important than anything else. Good sound makes everything else seem like it was expensive. So on a film set, they have a lavalier mic on each actor. Just right up close to make sure they capture the tiniest little intricacies to what they're saying, because you can't go back and do it again. And they have a boom mic up on top, and these 3 audio channels are then being piped back to a person at their sound station, who is then your sound technician, tweaking the knobs and adjusting your volume. It doesn't seem like a lot of people yet, does it? Well, don't forget about that slate. That's right, the slate is part of all this. You literally have to take a moment at the beginning of every single shot in your day to put that slate in front of the camera, have everybody wait, clap it down, and then get out of the shot. You know, taking a little bit of time for the slate might not seem like a big deal, but if you take 30 seconds on every single shot and you do 40 setups, well, you just had 20 minutes of your day just go to filming a slate. Not to mention having to take the camera out of your setup, getting the slate, and then putting it back into the setup. Not always a big deal, but it does add up. And then later on, in post-production, you have your assistant editor who is on a computer and then has to synchronize all your sound. So sound department has become your boom operator, your sound technician, slate, and then assistant editing and post. So I need to eliminate some people from this. Here's how I'm going to do it. So I've been thinking about this for a while. So usually we don't worry about sound too much on a corridor video because most of it's action-based. But this one is not, it's drama. I need to have clear, crisp audio from each actor. So how am I gonna do it? The microphone on the boom is wireless. So this runs back to a mixing board, and the mixing board is recording multiple tracks. So we'll have lavalier mics on each actor. I'm wearing one right now. And we'll have the boom mic. All 3 of these microphone sources will go to our mixing board, our multi-track recorder, wirelessly. No wires getting in the way. We'll have a person on that mixing board listening, and we'll even have the boom operator listening with Bluetooth headphones so they can hear if they're getting good audio or not. That mixing board will record all 3 audio tracks. Back in the day, you'd have to use a slate then to sync these audio tracks to the video, but I'm not going to do that. I've been using a program called DaVinci Resolve recently. I used to use it for color grading. It has wonderful color grading tools, but I'm starting to use it more and more for editing. And it has a feature where if you have your audio in camera in some way, you can then take your other audio files and have the program automatically synchronize everything just by looking at the waveforms, just by listening and going, oh, these sound about right, and then just doing it. It's nuts, it's magic. What I can do here is I can run all these audio channels into the mixing board. I'll throw one more wireless microphone link on the mixing board to the camera and record a mix down of all that audio into the camera. I won't slate. All I will do is say the name of the shot out loud before each take. I roll my shoot, I roll the audio with all the shots, get the shots, don't worry about slowing down for a slate, and then later on in post-production, synchronize automatically. That means we can now capture clean, professional audio with multiple channels without having to use a slate, sound mixers, and sound utility and all that kind of stuff. It's all eliminated. It's just good, clear audio, all synced up for editing. All right, next big department, lighting. Now look, we have lights. There's a light right there. Look at this, we have a big softbox right here. We already have 2 lights in this room and there's not even a crew here. How the heck did we do that? All right, let's talk about lights, all right? You might think lighting is simple. It is not. Film shoots, old technology. They like to use big old lights. They're starting to use LED lights, but there's still a lot of big old lights being used. You know why? Because they have big old cameras that need big old photons hitting their sensors. They don't have little low light sensitive things that can just work with whatever. They need big old lights with big old lenses shooting big old beams. You know what holds up a big old light? A big old stand. You know who carries a big old stand? It's the big old grips. Anytime you see a dude in cargo shorts on a film set, he is a grip. Actually, these guys, they are responsible, more responsible in a way, for people's safety on set than anyone else. They will never, ever take shit from people for that reason. And it's good because when you're dealing with a 80-pound light at, say, 200 degrees Fahrenheit on a 60-pound stand, if this thing falls over, it is either going to kill somebody or light a fire. Or kill somebody by lighting them on fire. So 10 Cloverfield Lane, which all takes place in a room, by the way, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 grips to make sure that their lights are set up. Okay, 12 people hold stands, that's crazy, but can't get any worse than that, right? Well, guess what? Lights need electricity, and these lights need a lot of electricity. You think you just plug them into a wall? You'd be wrong. These lights have big honking cables going down to big ballast boxes, and these ballast boxes then go out with these big thick wires to something called a lunch box, and those go out to a diesel generator, literally on a trailer parked outside with a security guy to keep an eye on it. Generally speaking, when you're doing a dialogue scene indoors, you do not need any of this, not anymore. All of this can be eliminated and simplified, and you can get the same results. Here's how. Nick, I'm over here. Over here. Hey, what's up? I'm on this side of the room now. Lights are kind of something we take for granted, right? LED lights have been coming out and they've been kind of a thing for about the past 7 or 8 years on film shoots. But the thing is, they've not been super widely adopted, partially because they're not super bright yet. Check it out. Really cool thing about LED lights is you can change the colors and it's magical. Boop! Look, I can have any color I want. And you know what another cool thing about LED lights is? It's not hot. It's not even warm. What's this? Is that a battery? Wait, there's no wires. This whole thing's so light I can hold it with one arm. Wow, so many problems solved through the use of technology. The lights themselves don't actually have to be bright. They just need to be bright enough to give you an exposure that you want to work with. So I am going to light and shoot this scene with a camera that gives me low light abilities so I can use dimmer lights, smaller lights, and that means no generator, no fire marshal, no electric distribution to worry about, no heavy stands to worry about, no heat to worry about, no gels to worry about. Done. I don't want to forget the simplicity of being 14 years old and having a camera and just going out and trying to get a shot and be like, oh, it looks good. Beautiful. You have eliminated all the barriers between your creativity and imagination and getting that realized in real life. That's the goal. All right, so the short film has been shot. We pulled it off. Our crew was so small we couldn't even have a BTS guy. For now, I'm gonna break down what worked, what didn't. Quite honestly, I'm actually super excited because it seems like all these plans, all these crazy experiments we did actually seem to have worked out. So let's talk about this for a second. First things first. These days, everybody's shooting on digital cameras. But the thing that people don't realize with digital cameras is you still need to develop your picture, just like how you had to develop your picture with film. I'll give you a quick rundown. It's very, very simple as to how you do it. Now, right out of the camera, this is what it looks like. It's kind of flat, but it's set for you to do your own adjustments to it. I'm going to use a lookup table from Iwltbap, IWLTBAP, which is one of our favorite packs of lookup tables. And a lookup table is basically a filter, like something you might see on Instagram. And with the Blackmagic, you can actually load these lookup tables, these filters basically, into the camera and shoot with it on so you can see how it looks on set and adjust your lighting accordingly. So it's a perfect example of new technology that's changing the way we do things. This little bit of adjustment makes everything look really good and really filmic. And it looks like it's been shot on a movie camera. Good cameras aren't expensive anymore these days. The Blackmagic 4K is only $1,000. All right, the next thing is lighting. Notice that this actually looks pretty dang good. I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty happy with it. Adrian did a great job. 2 things that we did here. 1, we used a hazer, so there's a little bit of haze in the room. It helps separate the foreground from the background and give depth cues to your eye. You can see how there's a background that's behind the actor and there's a foreground, and you can kind of feel those layers in the atmospheric perspective, if you will. So that hazer, not expensive, and it goes a long way towards making your stuff look cinematic. It kind of gives you that depth that you really only see in movies. It gives you light beams from the windows. It looks really good, and I'm really happy with it. So you might remember me mentioning that I wanted to eliminate a bunch of complications around sound. I didn't want a clapboard. I didn't want to have a person on set who had to do that. So, did it work? Oh yeah, it did. It was great. I am so excited about this. This is like going to be the newest addition to the way we deal with sound on set. Using the waveform analysis, lined it all up automatically using DaVinci Resolve's features. So if we look here at these waveforms, we can see how the waveforms all line up. Awesome, because I no longer have to use a clapboard to find a visual sync point for things. I can just use the camera's scratch audio or the audio would pump into it to match that to the audio we're recording because all the waveforms should line up. It worked so well. Like now we can record audio from a bunch of different sources on set, sync them all up automatically. I don't have to have an AC with a slate on camera. I don't have to slow down for any of that. I can just roll and roll and roll, and that is a game changer. So I'm really excited with how this is turning out. The footage looks great. All the experiments worked, and now it's just on me to hopefully have told a good story and make a good edit. It's gonna come out probably in January, so please consider subscribing so you don't miss it. If you've never been to the Corridor channel, go check it out, youtube.com/corridor. Yeah, that's where we put all our short films. And subscribe to the Corridor Crew channel while you're at it. Give us a 2-for-1 special if you're mashing subscribe buttons these days.
In the spirit of Christmas.
In the spirit of Christmas. Or Kwanzaa or Hanukkah or whatever it is that you celebrate. Winter solstice, pagan holidays, it's all good. I'm down.